Well, I am on a lot of political party lists. I swear I don't sign up to them. People put me on those lists as some sort of prank, I assume, but I actually enjoy seeing what the different political parties have to say, and especially when the Liberal Party writes to me using my first name. It feels so personal. But let me show you an email I received just yesterday, and it was marked Far Right Politics. So I thought, oh, they got something to say. The Conservative Party hasn't changed, Ezra. Wow, they really know me. In his parting words as Conservative leader just 4 months ago, this was Andrew Scheer's message to his successor. Challenge the mainstream media. Don't take the left-wing media narrative as a fact. Please check out smart, independent, objective organizations like the Post-Millennial or True North. And I would agree with that advice. But then look at this. Erin O'Toole has taken him up on that divisive call to promote far-right politics. And then look, I'm just skipping ahead. Just this week, O'Toole granted an exclusive end-of-year interview to the far-right True North initiative, which now Toronto has described as an anti-immigration right-wing think tank. It goes on to rant and rave conspiracy theories, and then naturally ask for your money. And I was tempted to donate, but I already am a donor to the True North. So no need to try and persuade me. I'm in. But putting aside my joking, since when do party leaders and political parties demonize and attack journalists? I thought that was something only the evil Donald Trump did. And I thought the rest of the media was just mortified that he would call the media the enemy of the people. Here we have a sitting prime minister's political party targeting his demonization on any, I'm not even going to call True North far right. They're not. They're slightly to my left. I regard myself as conservative. I think True North are conservative. Frankly, their views on immigration are in line with 90% of Canadians who think immigration levels are high enough. But the demonization for profit of True North, Post-Millennial, and of us is something stunning to see. And the either passive reaction or the celebration of this by the rest of the media is even more amazing. Joining us now is the man who scored that end-of-the-year exclusive interview with Erin O'Toole, the far right, Andrew Lawton. He joins me now. Andrew, I don't think you're far right. I think you're conservative. You have had a storied journalistic career. You've been with the Sun chain. You've been a radio host on a mainstream radio station. You're with True North. You've done a lot of journalism. To call you far right, I don't even take that as an insult really, but to demonize you and to say you're beyond the pale, that's a little creepy coming from the government.
Yeah, and I must apologize, Ezra. Sorry if I'm a little bit out of sorts today. I started a drinking game when I saw that email yesterday. I took a shot every time the email said far right, and I had passed out by like 8:32 p.m. So I'm still sleeping off the hangover this morning from that. It is a demonization, and you're right to point that out, because what the Liberals are saying here is that the audience that I have, the audience that you have, the audience that Post-Millennial have, they don't deserve to hear what politicians are doing. They don't deserve to hear from political leaders. They're saying to Erin O'Toole, you should just ignore a portion of Canadians. And that's very telling, because that's revealing that the Liberals have decided to ignore a portion of Canadians. We saw this during the last federal election when the Liberals had banned me from covering their press conferences and campaign stops. At one point, police even pulled me over because I was trying to figure out where the campaign was going because they weren't sending me their press releases. So the Liberals are now upset that the Conservatives aren't taking their approach, which is to just marginalize huge chunks of the Canadian population and say, you don't have a place in civil society.
You know, that's a very thoughtful way of looking at it. I'm thinking, you know, who has the message? Who has the message to tell? Erin O'Toole. Who's the filter, the journalist? Who's the audience? So you talked about this press release, this fundraiser really, denying a huge swath of Canadians. So that's a very good point. But look at the other two parts to that. The filter. The Liberals are saying Erin O'Toole has the right to speak. They're not yet saying he doesn't. But he only can speak to our approved middlemen, our approved filters. the CBC, if they'll have him, CTV Global, some mainstream newspapers, and that's it. So they're not just marginalizing the audience. That's a very good point you make. But they're telling Erin O'Toole he's only allowed to send his message to people who the Liberals know will treat it a certain way. And finally, they're in their own way trying to bully Erin O'Toole. This is an attack on him. The whole purpose of this is to attack him. So Erin O'Toole, you can't talk to who you want to as an audience. You have to talk to the journalists we tell you to, and you cannot have your message go to conservative grassroots. Every layer of this is illiberal, isn't it?
It is, and you and I talked a few weeks back when the Global Conference for Media Freedom took place, the virtual version of it, about how on one hand the Liberals talk this big game about press freedom, but in practice they don't actually respect the diversity of voices. It's the only form of diversity Justin Trudeau doesn't like, diversity of opinion. So what's happening here is the Liberals, who, by the way, are still fighting Rebel and True North and me in court. It's important to note this. Our case against the Leaders Debates Commission is still ongoing. They're still spending tens of thousands of dollars to deny our press freedom to cover future election debates and other events. And what the Liberals are doing is you're right, saying that we only regard as legitimate media the people that we've approved. And the timing of this fundraising email from the Liberals is quite unique, because this week there was actually a draft policy sent out to members of the Parliamentary Press Gallery, which is this Ottawa clique that the Trudeau government has basically outsourced media accreditation to. And this draft policy would exclude True North and Rebel and Post Millennial and other independent media outlets from covering any government events. And what they say in this draft policy is, quote, accreditation is a privilege, not a right, unquote. Now, what they're actually doing is limiting and curtailing press freedom in a way that the Liberal government very much approves of, because the Liberal government thinks that press freedom is something that's actually a privilege and not a right. So it is timely that this now comes, this fundraising email from the Liberals, the same week as we are institutionalizing this very idea that certain people don't have a right to be journalists in Ottawa.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.